Welcome back.
Sorry, I'm just transitioning. It's absolutely crazy on Facebook Live. Your ADD goes crazy when I'm looking at YouTube Live. I'm looking at Periscope, Twitter, our Twitch account. There's actually people watching on Twitch, total of 2 now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Ooh.
So we're going places, and Facebook Live is just absolutely going crazy. Insane. I mean, that's what happens when you're lonely on the top and you got the #1 overall pick in, Hughes. But I was listening to you guys while I was doing some producing, and I heard about what happened last draft, and I think you were saying something, Beer Baron, about someone having a baby and this and that, and then I realized I did something too before this draft that I did back when we got Nico. Do you know what I did?
I don't know.
Is that the year you got married, Sam?
Oh, I didn't get married again, but yeah.
Okay.
That happened. It's close enough. I actually got an oil change at Bobby's. I got an oil change at Bobby's Auto Care a week prior to the lottery. Got my $10 off Bobby's Auto Care in beautiful New Jersey, Washington, New Jersey, on 2151 Route 57. Bobby's Auto Care. Go to bobbysautocare.com, and if you say that Sam Wu sent you, we're going to double it because we won this lottery. You'll get $10 off on your first bill if you're a new customer at Bobby's Auto Care in beautiful downtown Washington Borough. We found out it's Washington Borough. It's Main Street, USA. It's absolutely lovely. But anyway, guys, speaking of the Bobby's Auto Care and the Bobby's Auto Care hotline from Pucks and Pitchforks blog with Fans Cited, we have on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline Nick Villano. Nick, are you off of Cloud9 right now?
You can't get me off of Cloud9, Sam. I am living. I am paying rent on Cloud9. I am rent to own Cloud9 right now. I am ready. I am so happy. I'm doing backflips up in here. I am screaming around my house. If somebody's asleep at 8:30, I'm sorry, because you are waking up because we won the draft lottery.
Amazing.
Yeah. Nick, it's Shorts Guy, man. Welcome to the Celebratory podcast. So I want to get your insight. Who do you think we should draft?
Listen, here's the thing. I like
serious tones.
He's fine. He's a good player. He's going to be very, very good. He's going to be in the NHL next year. He's going to be very nice. It's going to be nice. Take Jack Hughes. Don't overthink this. He already knows Taylor Hall. Take him. He has beaten the American scoring record. Can I tell you who's American? Patrick Kane's American. Austin Matthews is American. Phil Kessel's American. He beat them all. All of them. Take Jack Hughes. He can come in. Boom. Bye, Pavel Zacha. Fourth line now. Have a nice day. Now we got a very, very, very good former 6 overall pick on the fourth line because you throw Jack Hughes right in there on the second line center, right behind Nico for that first year. Then after that first year, you let him battle it out. You let him see who's going to be the least injury prone, who's going to, get the best chemistry with Hall and Bratt and Palmieri and whoever you decide to put on that first line. I don't care because you now have your Crosby and your Malkin. You now have whoever you want to say. I'm not even going to say Draisaitl and McDavid because we're not going to mess it up like they did. You have 2 generational talents. Number 1, number 2, center. We don't have 2 great left wings like the Jets do. We have 2 amazing centers for at least a decade. Take Jack Hughes.
Yeah.
So I just have to say this. We have a lot of new listeners tonight, and for the record, we've had Nick on quite a bit. This is the most fired up he's ever been on any one of the podcasts that he's been a guest. Just had to throw that out there.
Listen, it was a bad season.
Yeah.
Sad. I was trying to make positives out of things, you know. Hey, Mackenzie Blackwood looks pretty good. That'll be nice next year. And hey, you know, Nico Hischier is growing, and that's nice. And Jesper Bratt, you know, he kind of went away from the rookie wall. And we have a nice core here, and we'd be better if we had Taylor Hall on the ice. And if Corey Schneider could figure it out, then he figured it out, and that was nice. It's all nice. It's nice. You know, but while we're out there watching Curtis Gabriel playing 14 minutes a night, and we're all excited about Kevin Rooney. Like, we were trying to pull strings, and now it's all worth it. Now I'm happy. The 7 months of pain that I just felt, it's like, so this is what it's like. It's like getting married when you're poor. I spent 7 months putting together living my worst life, eating ramen every night, just so I could pay for this wedding. But now I'm getting married to the woman or man of my dreams, and it's amazing. And it was all worth it. And guess what I'm not going to remember? The 7 months of ramen, because I'm going to remember the wedding. And today I got married to Jack Hughes.
Let me tell you what, Nick, first of all, this is Scott. I want to say thank you, first of all, for being with us in the entire season and living through this misery and always finding a way to give us hope. We talked about this a few times, and we kind of like floated out the notion of the Devils getting Jack Hughes or getting that #1 overall pick. And we all kind of chuckled because we didn't know it was going to actually happen. Now that it's going to happen, now that we hope and pray that Ray Shero walks out of the building and looks at everybody and goes, who do you think we're going to draft? Of course it's Jack Hughes. What can the Devils do, or who can they surround Jack Hughes with? I mean, obviously, there's a couple of names that are out there that are, you know, some pretty big UFAs this summer, but who do you feel will be the perfect fit for the Devils to bring into the fold now?
So, you know, I heard you guys talking right before I got on about Erik Karlsson. Obviously, I think the move right now is you go head first into Erik Karlsson, because now it makes more sense. Like, I wrote an article about 3 or 4 weeks ago about 5 reasons why Erik Karlsson should come here. And it was, you know, you get to play with Taylor Hall. We have all the money in the world to give you. You get to be the anchor on a defense who really just needs you. But that was all very loose. That was very, you know, I called them the Pucks and Pitchforks pipe dreams, because they were pipe dreams. There was, I could convince you that it could happen, but I'm not going to sit here and say that we were the top landing spot for Erik Karlsson. Of course we weren't. Now, I still say we're not the top. I think the top is probably San Jose, because it's always the top landing spot to be where you are. But you go on the landscape and you see who has all of the money in the world. The teams that are going to have all the money in the world are like Columbus, which have no chance of re-signing anyone besides maybe Duchesne. So they're going to have Matt Duchesne, and I don't think they're going to re-sign Duchesne because he's going to watch everybody leave. And all he said this entire season and the entire last season, he wants to go to a winner. So they're gonna have all the money in the world, but they're not going to have the players to do anything with. I mean, there's a couple teams with money, but not many who have $30 million that the Devils have, and a couple million depending on what they end up on the salary cap. But $30 million, we have $30 million. We have $29 million after adding Jack Hughes to a roster that already has Taylor Hall, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, about to add Ty Smith, Sammy Vatanen, Damon Severson, Mackenzie Blackwood. I mean, this team is about to be insane if they sign nobody. And you are going to sign, I think that that Shero is going to sign somebody in that top 6 free agents. Karlsson's at the top, and I'd probably put Duchesne at the 6th.
You got a lot of people saying Panarin.
No, that doesn't matter. I'm sorry, people, but Panarin is Taylor Hall. So unless you think that Taylor Hall is leaving, I'm just, because I wrote the Pucks and Pitchforks pipe dreams. I wrote down Artemi Panarin's name along with the 4 others that I did, and I tried to make it make sense, and I did it. I literally spent an hour trying to make it make sense before I put a word on a paper, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. because Panarin's not going to come here to play second line, and you're not going to convince Taylor Hall to sign. No matter how much money you give him, you're not going to convince him to sign if you drop him down the line. So Panarin's not the guy. You know who might be the guy? Mr. Jeff Skinner up in Buffalo. Now, I know he fell off the map, but Jeff Skinner is a guy who's motivated by a winning team. And if you put Jeff Skinner on that top line with whoever, Hughes or Nico and Taylor Hall, think of that top line. Let's just say we keep Hischier on the top line because he has got the chemistry with Hall. So you got Hischier, Hall, Skinner on that line. How many goals are they going to score?
That's a good point, but a lot of people are scared that Skinner is going to be asking for way too much.
Who cares?
You got it.
Worry about paying the superstars. You don't worry about paying the superstars. I will say it one more time. You do not worry about paying the superstars. I will give Carlson $13 million if he wants because we have the money. I will give Skinner $9 million if he wants because we have the money. We could give him $9 million, and now that we have Jack Hughes and don't have to pay a second line center, we can give Taylor Hall $11 million if he wants it. We probably don't have to do that, but he's probably going to want 10. You give Skinner 9. That's $19 million. And guess what? We still have $11 million in cap space. And rumor has it, I don't have this confirmed, but rumor has it that Ray Shero has been given the go to spend to the cap. And I think that's something that Hall probably said in meetings and then alluded to in public, where I think he said that I don't want to be on a team that's $30 million away from, I don't want to be on a team that's playing closer to the cap floor than is the cap ceiling. And I'm sure that Ray Shero said, you want to get people in the building, you want to get people in the Prudential Center, we're on the cusp of something great, but if you don't let me spend as much as I can, and he's not going to ever spend all of it because he likes to have that flexibility at the trade deadline or, maybe at a time of like a Sami Vatanen trade. He likes to have that ability to make moves if he needs to, but he could spend much more than he's spending now. And you get Skinner on this team, and you got to remember this. And this is something that people kind of forget. And I actually just forgot it because I did the bad math. So adding Taylor Hall is $10 million. Taking away from that $30 million, you're not taking away from $30 million because he's already making $6 million. And the year you have to pay him, you lose Andy Green's $5 million. So they're going to have $45 million in cap space in the year after next. Now, obviously, they have to sign Hischier, who's a restricted free agent. They're probably going to sign Butcher this offseason, who's a restricted free agent. But what's Butcher going to make? 4? If he makes more than 4, I'd be surprised. And if he makes more than 4, I hope it's a 6-year deal. Because, I really like Butcher. I think he's going to be good, but he's coming off a bad year. So I think he's going to probably take 2.5 over 2 or 3. And I think Shero will be happy to give him that. But, again, what's Zacha going to make? $1 million? Maybe he makes a Santini contract. Like, why are people worried about money? Don't be worried about money. We have all of the money, all of it, all of the money. We're getting the $500 million, the part of the $500 million from the Seattle deal. We're not going to ever worry about cap space. Our biggest worry is going to be who we're going to let Seattle take from us in a couple of years.
Probably Miles Wood, but that's another story for another day.
It might be a much better player, and it might be sad. It might be Palms, which I'm not happy about. Just looking at who we're going to have to, maybe, I don't know. Maybe not, but if we're signing 2 or 3 free agents this year long-term, if we're signing 2 to long-term deals this year, sure, Ray might be in a weird position there, and we might lose Palms, but we'll see. That's 2 years away. We're fine.
Well, we've learned in the past that when it comes to Shero, anyone is expendable, no matter who it is. So Palms being unprotected really wouldn't shock me when it comes to that. For the time that Seattle start picking from teams, it really wouldn't be a complete shock to me.
Yeah, I think that's a little overstated. I think his time in Pittsburgh, I think he prioritized the players that he should have prioritized. And I think a lot of people get that from him because I think it was the Jordan Staal trade that kind of threw people off when he traded him to Carolina, like the whole anybody's expendable thing because he didn't want to pay him. But look at what Jordan Staal did in Carolina. Like I don't blame him for trading him at this point, because then they got, Gensel, who played arguably better than him, and then they, the guys, it's slipping out of, they got a bunch of good players on that team that are very good, and it just wasn't worth paying Jordan Staal at that time. So I think that's where that comes from, and I think the guys who he needs to prioritize, they're not expendable. Like, he wasn't trading Crosby if you gave him 10 first-round picks. It's stuff like that. He might put up the face that, everybody is up for sale or whatever, but that's just kind of like grandstanding. I don't believe that for a second, that, if Taylor Hall came to him and said, I'd like to re-sign an 8-year deal with you at a reasonable number, I don't think he'd be like, well, I'm going to just check the market to see what I can get for you. No, he's going to prioritize having the superstar player. So that's just that. That was a tangent. I apologize.
No worries.
I have a quick question. Do you think that the Devils would take a flyer on Adam Fox, who basically told the Carolina Hurricanes that he is going to pull a Will Butcher and not sign with them?
I'm on the fence about this move. Mostly because if Adam Fox comes here and let's say he's identical to Will Butcher, like in terms of how well he plays. He's a second line guy on the team already. Do we have room for that? That puts us in another position where we got a top four of 4 either 1Bs or second line guys. And I just think we need the top guy. We need that top line guy. We need that number 1 player. And I don't know if Adam Fox is it, and he might be. So if that was the only issue I'd have, I said, let's take a flyer. Let's see if he's the number 1. He's going to be that number 1 guy, because he definitely has the talent. But he also comes with this drama where he doesn't want to sign with the team, and I don't think he's going to give any team a guarantee unless it's New York. And it's weird. It's weird to me. I don't know why you would do your career like that, because then you give New York all the cards when you negotiate your second contract. Well, we know you want to be here, so here's $4 million. You want it 6, here's 4. I just don't understand the philosophy there. It just doesn't make sense to me in any sense of the world, but that's what he's doing. And it's a mistake. So the only way that I would go after Adam Fox is if the New York Rangers thing is overstated. And I know for a fact, because I've asked around, and I know for a fact that it's at least something. It might not be the main thing, but it's at least something. If it's only that, and it's just one thing on a long list of things, and the main issue he has is that Carolina is stacked at D, and he has no place to play, then I would take a flyer on him. If not, he's just not worth the headache.
Now, do you see the Devils trying to use any of their draft picks coming up? Because they have 10 draft picks coming up in this next draft. So do you see them trying to leverage any of those to try to go after a team that's strapped for, cap relief and looking to unload anybody or make a move to get like a Kyle Palmieri? And I also I have to ask you about the Draisaitl thing that you wrote about.
So Vinny is the one who wrote about the Draisaitl thing.
Oh, Vinny did, yeah.
But but I've been talking to people all day about it, and obviously I'm 100% behind my writers and what they write. So I'll definitely talk to you about that. I definitely think the Draisaitl thing is on the table now. Or at least think that Ratio is going to ask. I thought he was always going to ask, but I think that now there's more of a reason to ask. But at the same time, I think that Draisaitl's natural position is center. And what Edmonton has the right to ask for, I think now is a little bit harder for the Devils to swallow. I mean, Draisaitl could definitely play the rest of his career at left or right wing, and he will be an amazing player. But I think that you pay that guy that much amount of money to play center for you. So I would still try, but I'm not giving up. Let's say they ask for Severson, 2 second rounds this year, and the 2021st, and one of our top prospects. I'm trying to think, maybe like Boquist. Because that's what that's probably going to be their asking price. So you're talking about Boquist, who could play in the NHL right now, Severson, who's played himself into a top defenseman role. Maybe not one of the best in the league like we were hoping for, but he's still he could play first line defense and not be a sieve. And then you're talking about a future first rounder, which ask Ottawa, that hurts. Although it doesn't hurt as bad. And then 2 seconds. I think it's just going to be a massive ask for Draisaitl. So I think it might have been, because it would have been worth it if we could give them this year's first if it was 5, and say Vatanen, who you didn't know if you were going to resign, and a prospect, maybe a lesser prospect, because you're giving them that first round draft pick that you know what number it is. They're going to have 2 in the lottery section, so that would be a little bit better for them. It would be too much now because this is looking more and more like a playoff team every day. So now I look throughout the league. I cast my line out, and I pick up the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs are the team that I am hitting up the second that they are eliminated. I'm like, hey, you're in a bad way. You have no cap space. They have none next year. I think it's $6 million. Off the top of my head, they have $6 million in cap space. You have to sign Mitch Marner. You have to sign Kasperi Kapanen. Those two, probably going to cost you $13 million. $13 million is not 6. I don't know. I'm not good at math. I know one of y'all is a teacher out there that I'm talking to, and I don't think you can even make that math work, that you take $6 million and you make it 13. So they are in a bad way, but they want to keep all those players. They especially want to keep Marner. I don't think you're getting Marner for anything. Even if he's asking for the $12 million that Marchand brought up, I don't think you're getting Marner for anything. So now you have to move on. You can ask about Kasperi Kapanen, and I think that would be a good move. The better move is to go get William Nylander. Get William Nylander on this team. This team's about to be fun, which is what he's coming from. He loves playing for the Montreal Maple Leafs. He just wanted to get paid, and he got paid. He's cost-controlled for the next 5 years. I got to look at that contract again, but it's at $6.9 million a year. So you're getting a guy who's 22 years old. He's already had 2 60-point seasons. You're trading him on his down year where he missed half the season, and we saw what happens to young players when they miss training camp. He didn't only miss training camp, he missed October and November. But we saw what happened with Miles Wood. Miles Wood got going the last 2 months of the season, really the last month. So I take William Nylander off your hands. I take that $6.9 million off your hands. I give you... What if for William Nylander, I'll give you 3 seconds and a prospect of your choice. Not of your choice, because if I'm giving you 3 seconds, I'm not giving you Boquist or Smith or, but, or I'll give you 2 seconds and, a slightly better prospect, or, maybe I'll give you, maybe they want Davies. Maybe, we have options here. We have options here, people, and I think that trade makes the most sense because Toronto media is eating William Nylander alive. The Toronto fans are eating William Nylander alive. He's kind of in a toxic situation, and if he comes out next year and he scores 30 goals, it'll probably go away. But at the end of the day, the second he goes on a 7-game scoreless streak, they're going to be like, remember when he held out? I think it's just we don't have those memories of him. And we get that money off their books so they could sign Marner, who is a better player. And they could sign Kapanen, who's, I don't think is a better player, but is a really good role player for them. And the Maple Leafs are going to still be Stanley Cup, contenders every year without Nylander. So I think they're a team that you can get that guy off of them. You can have them build for the future for when a couple of those guys get a little bit older and they can get guys on cost-controlled deals like these second-round picks. So that's what I want. I want William Nylander. Go get me William Nylander, please, Ray. Please get me William Nylander. If not, then just go sign Jeff Skinner. Give us this ridiculous top six. That's we're going to literally. I'm going to salivate from July 1st up until October 1st.
Nick, let's talk. You were talking about options, but let's talk about fantasy options. The media has been going crazy about Connor McDavid. I think Ray has some chips here. He's ripped him off once. Maybe he'll rip him off again. Would you do it, or would you just build through the draft and stay on course? Would you go top heavy to sell tickets and excitement and make the team better? Would you even fathom that fantasy?
If you're giving me Connor McDavid, I'll give you the first overall pick and Severson. Right now. If you're
really
giving Connor McDavid, already signed to a 7-year deal, right? 7 after this year, for a lot of years. Connor McDavid is this. We use the word generational player a little too much. So, but he is a generational player. It's him and Crosby are the only two that are in the league right now, and then a bunch of people who can become generational players. He's 23, 24, 20.
He hasn't hit his prime yet. Yeah, he hasn't hit his prime yet.
He is the best player in the league. He's going to stay the best player in the league. And you're giving up a guy who could be one of the top 5 players in the league and a defenseman who's very good for the best player in the league. So if you could get me Connor, if you get me Connor without the first overall pick, I'd give everything else. Everything else you want, I will give you Vatanen, Severson, Boquist, Highsmith. I'll give you Mackenzie Blackwood, and that's going to hurt because that's going to put us in kind of a bind with goaltender position. But you can kind of make that work. I think you make it work with Schneider and maybe like I know Halak's not a free agent because he signed a 2-year deal with Boston, but somebody of that ilk. I think you can make it work until you figure out which one of Akira Schmidt, Evan Cormier, and Cam Johnson can become legit, kind of like what you did with Mackenzie Blackwood. But I'll give him whatever you want. Take it all. That's not nailed to the floor.
And one other thing, Nick, you spoke about Mackenzie Blackwood with Corey Schneider doing much better down the stretch than he was for 14, 15 months there. You think this is going to be a 1-2 next season? Everything's solidified, no changes to the goaltending position, or do you think Ray is going to entertain some offers to potentially trade Corey?
I'll tell you what. I think this changes things. I think getting the number 1 overall pick getting the number 1 overall pick changes everything. I can't tell you how much is now changed in the Devils organization because it was different when we got Hischier because we were getting either Patrick or Hischier at the time, and they were going to be very, very good. And Hischier turned out to be very, very good. He's a very, very good number 1 center, and I'm very, very happy that we got him in the draft. He's amazing. I love him. He's the Devils jersey I now wear all the time. That I don't want to understate that. But he wasn't change the course of history good. And now you have that in Jack Hughes. You had that in Austin Matthews when he got drafted. You had that in Connor McDavid when he was drafted. I could go on. But it's not often that you get a guy who's been talked about for 3 years, and we're waiting 3 years for this kid to get drafted. And that's what you have in Jack Hughes. So I think that legit every single thing that Ray Shero was thinking before tonight is now different. Back when he thought he was going to get Kirby Datch or Dylan Cozens or Bowen Byram, with the number 3 overall pick, now he's thinking, I need to make this team amazing tomorrow. So if he thinks that he's got one more year of good Corey Schneider, and a team desperate in net, like, say, the Oilers calls and says, we'll give you a pick for him, and he thinks, I can get the same amount of production from what if they sign Robin Lehner? And they have Mackenzie Blackwood and Robin Lehner. Robin Lehner, you give him a $4 million deal for the next 3 or so years. You send Schneider to Edmonton. He can kind of hold down that position for now. Sam Gretzky could say, see, look, I'm doing something. I'm getting you this guy. This guy is at his lowest value, and I got him at a good price. So I do think, Sam, I do think that that's a possibility that Corey Schneider could get traded. I don't think it's the priority. I don't think Sherritt is looking to do it, but I think that he knows that there are options out there where he has a guy in Mackenzie Blackwood who could be the future, and he's proven enough that he can at least start half the games. So he needs to find a guy that could start 41 games for this franchise and not lose them games. He doesn't need a guy to win the games. He doesn't need a guy to have a 930 save percentage. He needs a guy who could do 910 to 950 on the night that Blackwood doesn't play. So, yeah, I do think that this changes their perspective, and I think they could trade Corey Schneider.
And, I got to tell you, for Corey's sake, I'm glad he's healthier than he was after that surgery. We joked around on the podcast. Now you're doing well, but I'm glad he's doing well, and this makes everything better. Now they just have one last thing to do. Win. Just win, baby. Just win.
Al Davis this.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
One more thing. Can we not fight about the tank or the not tank? I know the not tank crowd won. Well, I don't know. I don't know what you want to say, but the people who were mad that we won that last game and LA lost, it happened, but let's ignore it. Let's just be happy that we won the draft lottery. Let's not fight with each other about anything. Let's not say, see, look what I said. I was right. Don't worry about it. We're getting Jack Hughes. Just be happy about it.
Exactly.
You know what?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what?
As far as I'm concerned, there was the killer game in the beginning of the season in Europe, in Sweden, and then we saw Mackenzie Blackwood, and now we have the first overall pick. That's the entire season for me right there. Those 3 things right there. That's it.
And let me say, let's put to bed all this squabbling and all the crap and vitriol that you hear in Twitter and Facebook and all these places and all this little negativity that surrounds the team. We've been pushing the positive message all year. And you know what? I hope we push this positive message right up the rear end of some of these people, because now Jack Hughes, baby. Let's go.
Number 1 overall.
Kingston, WWE champ, New Jersey Devils, number 1 overall pick. It's positive, baby.
Positive.
It is.
On that note, Nick, the only tank that I know is the one that's about a mile away from Bobby's Auto Care. Thank you for coming on to the Bobby's Auto Care hotline, Nick. Thanks.
Sam, I could kiss you today. Y'all have a great night.
Have a good one, Nick.
That is the infamous Nick Villano of the Pucks and Pitchforks blog. Nick, if you want, we'll FaceTime later. Just kiss the camera, and I'll count that. We're all happy. I mean, I'm telling you, it's like what we've been always saying. Winning solves everything. Winning the NHL draft lottery.
We won that.
Just
that's for sure.
Now all is forgiven. You want